March 14, 2012, my son Thomas lost his battle with the disease of addiction. I now belong to a club that no parent should ever belong to. Do you know the signs? Do you know the trends that children are doing in today's world? Do you know the signs and symptoms? Do you know the signs and symptoms of drug abuse? I want to empower and educate Long Islanders by bringing a force of professionals and how to prevent the disease of addiction. Long Island in Crisis. Good evening and welcome to Long Island in Crisis. This show is dedicated to empowering and educating people and family members to deal with the disease of addiction for any loved one that may be struggling with it. And unfortunately on Long Island, we are an epidemic. Nationally, we have a pandemic going on. We're losing too many people every single day to the disease of addiction, and especially our young generation. My son Thomas lost his battle with the disease on March 14, 2012 at the ripe old age of 21. So we need to, as a society, do better. We know better, and we need to just, we all have to come together as a community. Tonight, though, I would like to really, with the holidays coming and being in the boat that I'm in, having lost a child, and also when you're dealing with a loved one's addiction, the holidays can be very stressful. They can be very challenging, whether you've lost or whether you have someone active with the disease. So my good friend Millie is here again.
Hi.
And you are a social worker.
You got it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And your practice is in Plainview.
Yep.
So we can get all that information. But I just want to, you were here so graciously the last time and we talked about grief. And there's a lot of grieving. You can be grieving and your loved one can be alive because, their life can't cure it. Right. You didn't cause it, and
Absolutely.
You can't control it.
Right.
And those are three things, especially as a parent, that we all try very hard to do. So we need to come up with just some strategies for the holidays, I feel like. I've been talking to parents. And having lost a child, I keep telling people, don't let anybody's expectations of what you should be doing be put on you.
Yeah, that's huge.
Be in the place that you need to be in on the day that, whatever day it is. Be open to going out, but if you're not capable of it, then respect yourself enough to be still.
That's hard to do sometimes.
It is.
I mean, people struggle with that in general. Right?
Yeah.
Taking care of yourself and putting yourself first. And in the holidays, we're concerned for ourselves, but we're concerned for everybody else.
Everybody else.
But yes, it's really an important time to put yourself first and to allow yourself to get in touch with what you need to do and be able to do it. Say yes if you want to go somewhere. Say no if you don't. Give yourself the ability to, change, make some alterations to what you've done in the past, however you need to do it, and to communicate that to everybody, and not feel like you're stuck doing something you don't want to do. There's a lot of anger.
There's anger. Sometimes, when you're with your nieces and nephews or other, it's not that you're not happy to see them.
Right.
But it becomes very difficult because you miss your loved one that much more.
Everybody else is moving on.
Yes, life goes on.
In a different place, right? And you're, in a very different place.
And you're in a very different place. So sometimes just acknowledging that for yourself.
Right.
I've explained it to my family. Mm. I don't want to, on Thanksgiving I was home by myself. And that was it. That was where I needed to be.
Right.
I didn't want to talk.
Right.
And I didn't want to listen.
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to listen,
deal, right?
And I didn't want to pretend that I was having a good day.
Right.
Because people then expect you, well, what's the matter? What's going,
Right.
I don't need to go over that all the time.
Yeah, you had to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And not go out and put a smile on your face and pretend you were fine when you weren't.
Right.
Right.
And by staying home and being in my sweatpants watching the March of the Wooden Soldiers 2 times,
did you?
I was happy.
Right. Uh-huh.
You know?
Yeah. I think people mean well, you know.
Come without a doubt.
Come on, let's, you know, come out. Let's do this.
Don't be alone.
You'll be okay. Right. But you have to do what's right for you. And you'll have a lot of different people telling you, you know, what to do, but you have to do what's right for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's the best way that I can put it is don't let other people's expectations
Right.
of what your life should look like be put on you.
Right.
If you need to be quiet and have a quiet holiday, maybe your spouse or your kids want to go anyway.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah, absolutely okay. And that's what's so important about talking before the day of the holiday and, you know, preparing and saying, this is what I think I'm going to do. This is what I
I'm
want to
planning
do.
on
Right.
doing.
And then even at the day of holiday, you might feel different. So you need to have also allow yourself a plan B, allow yourself kind of an escape route.
Absolutely.
So if you wake up and you just, I can't get through it, you don't have to.
Right, because that anxiety
Right.
can create havoc, you know, and then a time of reflection and everything else that the holidays are becomes then really something so anxiety ridden for so many people that why do we do that?
Right.
You know, and a lot of people may be struggling with someone newly sober or still
there are-
active.
Absolutely.
So now, you know, what do? Do you go to your family's house where there could be alcohol? There could be a lot of things going on. Nobody's judging anybody.
Right.
But you're taking someone that shouldn't have those triggers
Right.
and then
And putting them
expecting
in that,
them
right.
to maintain a really high level of, you know, doing the right thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you just came out of recovery, you're vulnerable right then.
Yes.
Right? It's a little bit different than someone that's been in recovery for 10 years and has, you know, a way of knowing how to cope with the situations, knows what they can handle, knows what they can't. But if you're just coming out of recovery, you're kind of feeling it out.
Drugs and or alcohol are still really controlling you.
Yes, absolutely.
So you know, there needs to be your healthy boundaries.
Right, and you know, we know it's stressful, the holidays.
Yes.
So there's, you know, a lot of triggers happening there, right? Stress, you know, buying presents, doing the right thing. There's also loneliness and depression if you're kind of have disconnected from some of your old friends that you can't hang out with anymore. So there's a lot of issues that can trigger it. So you really have to do what feels right for you if you're in recovery. I think the best thing to do is to try to talk about it beforehand
Yes.
with people. You know, this comes
And I
up
think
with
it's
the
important to talk about it as a family.
absolutely
Because the person newly sober, so, you know, the family needs to be in some kind of treatment also.
right.
And they need to be able to recognize that, gee, you know what? Our son, daughter, father, whoever it is,
Right,
that may not be the best environment for them.
right,
So how do we celebrate our holidays this year? Well, maybe this year we do stay home.
exactly.
And maybe we have a holiday that does not include alcohol in the house. And that's, you know, some people may think that's a sacrifice, but
Some people
I've made the ultimate sacrifice along with a
know.
lot of other parents.
Right,
So that's not the sacrifice that I ever want anybody to make.
right.
And if one day you can't take a step back and just be alcohol-free for the day, it's not a big...
You're not
it's
seeing
a-
the big picture,
You're not
right?
seeing the big picture. It's not it may not be your problem, but, you know, your kids, whatever problems they have, are your problems too.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a hard line, right? When you,
Yeah.
as a family member, between, you know, taking on their problem and supporting them.
Yes.
And support is fine and good, actually, and that's what you want to do. You want to sit down and have the conversation and say, "What do you think you can handle? What do we think we can handle? How are
Absolutely.
we going to make this happen? Are we having other people come? Whatever situation, issue that
Whatever
comes
that's
up,
gonna look like.
right? And you have a talk about it. So, I think
Maybe
that's really
you're
important.
going to, maybe we'll all go as a family And you could be there for, come and say hi to Grandma and Grandpa, and then in a
right.
half an hour, 40 minutes, you guys can leave.
Absolutely.
Or, we'll only go for dessert.
Absolutely.
But you have to be able to have the conversation wherever you're going to
Right.
say we need to have a alcohol-free environment.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And if your close friends or family members cannot help you out with that statement, then you need to take a bigger look at really, what's going on.
They need to take a look at why the alcohol is that important, right?
Right.
Yeah, so you're right. And you're right, the communication is so important. And I think with, with shame and with, kind of keeping things quiet, that's just not the way to go.
Right.
It just brings everything, kind of makes it bigger and bigger. And we need to put it out in the open. It is what it is. There's a disease involved here. If someone had cancer and they were in treatment and they were coming to your house for the holidays, you'd sit and have a talk, maybe a comfortable chair. What do they like to drink? Would they need a rest? You would make
accommodations.
Absolutely. And you'd talk about it instead of just kind of acting like everything's...
is okay.
Yeah, right.
And addiction is a disease. So...
Yeah. And there's resistance sometimes because when one, we've got family units, and when one person changes that, it's really hard. It shakes up everything.
It does.
So, I mean, that's the reality of it. And, some people might say, why do I have to? And, that's when also it's okay to reach out for help and go to some family groups and some family meetings, go to some meetings at Seafield and talk about how you handle it and what you can do in a specific situation.
Yes, so Seafield on John Street in Amityville, our good friend Anthony Rizzuto on Monday evenings runs a family support group on education on the disease of addiction.
Right.
And you'll be with other parents that are also struggling with a loved one's addiction.
And that's huge.
And that's huge.
Right.
You're not alone. The behaviors are similar throughout all families.
Absolutely.
It's very empowering and comforting to hear that I am not the only one that's dealing with this.
Right. And it's so amazing how we really feel alone.
Oh, and I think that's part of the disease. The disease looks to isolate.
Right.
And, keep you away from, because it can conquer everybody then.
Right.
It really can conquer everyone.
That's how it works, right?
Yep. It's insidious.
That's how it grows.
Yep. So, your loved one's been kidnapped by the disease, and they're not themselves anyway.
Right, absolutely.
So then you have to keep it quiet and keep the whole show going on.
Talk about
if you
stress.
Just talk, right, that's stressful.
Right.
That's stressful.
Right.
And there's no shame in it. And anybody that wants to give you shame, they're not your friends.
Right. You need to
They're not your
rethink that.
friends.
Right.
You have to rethink that.
Right. And we do need to educate those people.
Absolutely.
Not that we want to walk around lecturing and telling everybody, but people do need to be educated on the disease of addiction, even if your family, you're not dealing with it in your family. So that you can.
The crazy thing is, that I believe 99.9% of people know someone that's struggling.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's.
I haven't met anybody that hasn't.
I haven't met anyone that hasn't been touched by the disease of addiction.
And if they say they haven't, they're probably not really noticing it, maybe in a little denial. But yeah.
So denial is huge. So if you, as a family, are going to somebody's house, like we just said,
right,
and you're not going to be totally honest with yourselves as a family unit, and then everything has to be a secret, because that's how, when I grew up, what happens in this house stays in this house.
Right.
You didn't share your
old
dirty
school
laundry.
way.
Old school way.
Right.
You need to be able to just talk about it.
Right. And I think communication, I see in my practice constantly, communication is the theme that goes through, all different scenarios that I deal with. Difficulty communicating, knowing how you feel and knowing what you want to say, but having a really hard time saying it. And if we weren't brought up that way, it's even that much harder to kind of allow yourself to do that and to talk about it. And you may be able to do it in your family of origin, but when you go out and you're going to your friend's house and you've never spoken with her about it, it's
difficult.
It's out of the comfort zone there, right? But that's the only way to go.
It is.
There's no other choice.
And you can You can stress about that.
Right.
And my theory is always this, especially when you're working, no matter what. The thing you don't want to do the most,
Right.
do it the first thing in the morning, and the rest of your day goes.
Good idea.
You can anguish about that conversation for weeks and days and months even.
Right.
And it's eating you up inside. Nobody else is being affected.
Right.
Once it's said, it's out in the open.
It's out
Most part,
right.
nobody's going to, they're not dealing with it, so they're going to forget about it the very next day.
Right. It's
really
usually a
not.
lot easier than you think it's going to be, and what you've done
Absolutely.
in your head about.
Oh my goodness, the scenarios
anticipation.
that well, what if she says this, and what, just say it.
Yeah, just
and
do
let
it.
it happen.
Right.
And if you don't know how to answer somebody, say, you know what, I'll have to get back to you on that.
Right. Yeah, I agree. That's something that a lot of people struggle with. We think we have to have the answer. We have to fix it. We have to know. We have to say yes or no, make a decision. And that's not necessarily the case.
Absolutely not.
Very often, as parents, as people, we can say, let me do some thinking. I don't know how I'm feeling about that. Right. Right.
Well, I used to say to my kids, if you want an answer now, you're not going to like the answer. But if you give me a little time to think about it,
That's a great
you
thing.
choose.
Absolutely.
Okay, take your time.
Yeah. My kids used to tell me, maybe means no. I said, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
It
Give me a
just
little
means
time.
I need some time. Right.
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 We'll be right back after this message.
What are you looking for? You don't even know that. You don't even know you're on the ball list, so you can't even answer. I'm asking you about it. You gotta be highly skilled. You gotta be highly skilled. You understand that?
What are you sick?
Are you well versed there? Are you a very smart man? Hit me with some funny shit.
My shit's twisted.
Tell me something. Tell me
What
something.
do you have right there?
That's awesome.
Well-
That's a big.
That's nice.
You know damn well. You know damn well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's
Sir, are you interested?
Twisted
or not?
talent.
See, you got twisted.
That's twisted. That's talent. That's talent.
You see what I'm saying? You understand me? And if you can't whip out answers like that, that man is liable to during a commercial break punch your fucking mouth loose. You understand me? Time is up, sir. You understand me? You're on. You're the man. All right, give me your name now. I'm sorry.
My name is Willie.
Willie, where you working at?
We are twisted. We are awesome. Love it. Awesome. Love it.
Can you repeat that question again?
You know you already want a Toyota, but when you want more from your Toyota store, you want Smithtown Toyota, where every Toyota comes with Smithtown Toyota's Toyota for Life program, giving you lifetime New York State inspections, lifetime 10% discounts on all parts and service, 2 years of complimentary oil changes, 2 years of scheduled maintenance, and more, all at no cost to you, plus low clear-out deals on every Toyota in stock. Get more from your Toyota store. Hurry to Smithtown Toyota.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This is me, DMC, and the place to be, the greatest MC in history. There will never be an MC greater than me. And right about now, the only place for you to be is with the one and only Madhousetv TV. You are the man.
Welcome back to Long Island in Crisis. So we're talking about different strategies, really, to deal with a loved one's addiction when you're visiting with loved ones now over the holidays, and how do we have these strategies, certainly to keep someone from relapsing,
Right.
triggering
Right.
behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when someone who's newly sober is around people drinking,
It's a huge trigger.
it's a huge trigger.
Right.
You know, and they want to still escape themselves.
Right. And some people may think they can do it and get there and say, oh, no, this wasn't a good idea.
Right.
Right. And some people are still, obviously clearly struggling with, the fight internally. Right.
Huge fight.
Yeah.
And it is a struggle that can go on really your whole life.
Absolutely.
You know, so we can go back and look at Philip Seymour Hoffman, 22 years sober.
Right. Right.
Fame, power, wealth,
Means nothing.
three small children, and the disease won.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The ability to go anywhere in the world for treatment, and he still wanted to stay on that run.
Right.
What musician? Oh my goodness, who just died?
Oh, Stone
Cold-
Temple
yes.
Pilots. I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
Bad.
but
My brother-in-law would be like, how come you don't remember his name?
of course, you know, but
Anyway, yes.
Again,
no, I hear you. Yeah.
young man,
Uh-huh.
30s.
Right. And everyone said he kicked it, and then, it came back. It is a lifetime struggle.
It
right?
is a lifetime struggle, and you don't know
And-
what's gonna tip it. You know,
Right.
so there are strategies.
The key, they say, is recovery first. That's got to come first, above
Without
and
a doubt.
above and everything. So, that's the thing, to allow yourself during the holidays, say, what is going to help my recovery?
What it's gonna, and as a family unit,
Right.
if the whole family goes on without the loved one struggling,
Right.
that leads them to loneliness,
Absolutely.
to to segregation.
Right.
That feeling of, see, I don't fit in,
Right.
and that's when the disease also starts to say,
Right.
see, they don't want you with them.
Yes.
They
uh-huh.
don't.
Yeah,
Why
come
don't
back
we
to
go?
me, kind of. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And that's not a good place for them to be. So there are strategies. Certainly the newly sober needs to have clear access to their sponsor
Right.
and to their peeps. Maybe there's a meeting 365 days a year.
Absolutely.
So if you need to hit a
Double
meeting,
them up. Do whatever you need to
whatever
do.
you need to do. Maybe you go to a meeting early in the morning on Christmas
Mm-hmm.
Day or New Year's Day or whenever that may be.
Right.
Maybe you hit a meeting and then you go to your family, and maybe then you hit another meeting after seeing your family.
Absolutely. You might
gotta-
need that.
you might
after
need
seeing your
that.
family. And, maybe you can ask to bring somebody with you that's in recovery.
That's
to
in
support.
recovery. Maybe there's a lot of people in recovery that may not have a place to go,
Absolutely.
that are estranged
Absolutely.
from their family, because this disease does estrange people from loved ones.
Absolutely.
So
Right.
they earn their trust back. So, there are a lot of things, and family members need to be open to whatever it is
Right.
that they're going to need to do.
Yeah, I think that's so important because, we all have our own needs.
Yes.
And we want our own needs to be fulfilled, but during this time, the needs of somebody going to recovery are really important.
Absolutely.
And oh no, you have to come to my house because that's just what we do.
Right.
That doesn't work. Yeah, you really have to let things go and understand, and even for people that are grieving, understand and respect that they have the right to do what's right for them. And it may not be the way it was before, and it may not ever be.
It may not
the way
ever
it was
be that way.
before. Right.
For whatever the reason, a lot of people are really struggling this year.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's all the other world events that are going on.
Probably.
I don't know
A
if
very
it's just,
big time of stress. Right.
there's just so many things going on.
You turn on the news and you hear the world events, and then you hear, somebody else died from the disease. I mean, I have a practice. It's not specialized in substance abuse, but there are constantly people coming in to tell me. Someone told me the other day, their best friend's son died, and he died of a heroin overdose, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Everywhere.
So so things have changed, and even that is intense for people that are in recovery and grieving, to feel that all around them.
Absolutely. You know, so you're in early recovery and you lose another friend.
Right, right.
And that happens every single day of the week.
Sure it does,
And that
right.
just brings you would think, without struggling with the disease, for me, I would think it would make me stronger.
Right.
But I don't struggle with
Right,
the disease.
right. That's not
So
the way
I
it works.
appreciate that that little voice starts that chatter.
Right.
See? You
Well-
guys are not supposed to make it.
Right.
You're not. You're
Right.
not going to make it. You're going to come back to me.
Yeah, right.
Why don't we start right now? Because I
Exactly.
can make you feel so much better than feeling all this pain.
Exactly, right. Exactly.
You know, so we have to, you know, is there anything else that you think,
Well,
any other kind of strategies?
I mean, I was thinking about, as far as the grieving, grieving goes, I don't know if you do this at all, but, making some new traditions.
Yes.
And really making sure you take time to acknowledge that this person is not there and that you miss him.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. For me,
yeah,
I don't bring all the Christmas decorations down anymore, really, especially the ornaments.
right,
There are ornaments there that my children made. There are ornaments there that were Thomas's favorites.
right,
And the thought of just seeing them
right,
isn't comforting to me anymore. So we changed the way the tree looks.
right,
Still get a tree, still beautiful. It's just different.
right,
And I enjoy the tree tremendously
right.
because it brings back a lot of happy feelings, and it's still a happy thing.
And that's also important to realize that you can have those happy feelings.
Absolutely. You know, life goes on, unfortunately.
Right.
So you have to share the joy that is still available to you through, I have other children.
Absolutely.
They're still, I'm so happy that they're here.
Right.
But that one that you're still missing, you're always going to be walking that tightrope, but we have to celebrate. We have to celebrate life. Life is still good.
Right. And yeah, there's no choice.
There's no choice.
And yeah, we need to feel it. When we need to feel the happiness means we also need to feel the sadness. We need to feel it all, and that's really important. I think sometimes as people may light a candle, at a gathering, at a holiday, they may
the empty chair.
have an empty chair. May have everyone telling a story.
I love that.
I think that's the best.
I think that's the best.
Right, even
too.
a funny story.
That's all so a lot of Thomas's friends, and some of them are still struggling.
Right.
So I love, I said, well, you can come over and visit, or you can call me.
Right.
But you have to promise to give me one really funny Thomas story.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's easy.
I bet it is.
So and that makes me smile.
Right. Right.
Because, we all know he was an amazing person.
Yeah.
So I want to hear all those stories.
Right.
And I tell all those stories.
Right.
So it's a great way to have, he was here. He
Absolutely.
was here.
Absolutely.
And
right.
by not talking about him doesn't make it that he wasn't here.
Right.
It just makes that awkwardness. You can talk about him. It's going to make me smile. And it may make me tear up too. That's okay.
Yeah, that is okay. I've heard
human.
a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm afraid to say something," and I understand their fear, but the reality is that feels good.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's saying, yes, he was here and he's important, and we remember him and we still embrace him.
And we smile.
And we smile.
We
Right.
smile because life was so much better
Right.
the 21 years that I had him
Right.
as opposed to never having him.
Right.
So, for anybody that struggles with talking to somebody that has lost a child, just mention them and say, I'm thinking about him with you.
I think that
And
means
what a
more than
beautiful-
they
it,
can
it means
imagine.
more than you could ever imagine.
Right.
I'm thinking about you and your family, and I know that, you have that big loss, but he was amazing or she was amazing.
Right.
Talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You watch that mom and dad light up.
Absolutely.
You really will.
Yeah. I remember when my father died. I don't know if I said this to you. He liked to sing Christmas carols, at Christmas, and everybody would be like, "Oh my gosh, do we
No.
have to?" really, like how corny is this? And he couldn't sing at all. And, but, he would make us do it. So yeah, after he died, we said we're going to continue that. So something like that even is just so important.
it's-
Make his favorite
Yes.
dish or,
Without a doubt.
Right,
Anything.
right.
My father and I I'm the youngest of 5. My dad loved to lay underneath the Christmas tree and look up. And when I was little,
I love
he used to
that.
have me lay, we'd lay under the tree and we would look up and he would tell me, make up stories about us
I
being
love
in
that.
the
I've never
forest
done
and
that.
everything else.
I'm
So
going to try it.
right after he died, the first year that he was gone,
Mm-hmm.
we had the tree and I was, I was crying.
Right.
And Thomas came and he laid down, and I always remember that,
Right.
he laid down next to me and just held my hand. He goes, I miss him too, Mom.
Oh, wow.
Let's lay under the tree.
Right, what a
So
moment.
I still, to this, I'll lay under the tree
Right,
and think about everybody
right,
and all the traditions that we have.
right. One thing that reminded me, I don't know how old Thomas was when your dad died, but sometimes we forget about the kids.
Yeah.
That maybe they can't express themselves, if you're 10 or even 15, 5, right? But they're missing
They're
the person
missing.
too.
Absolutely.
And they don't really know. They're kind of watching everybody to see, like, how can I do this? Is it okay?
Yeah.
They're laughing, oh, maybe I can. But they also have a lot of sadness, and talking with them is important also.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, which led to a lot of Thomas, is my mother died, he was 12.
Right,
My mother-in-law died, he was just turning 14, and then my dad died, and he was 15. So
Wow.
in 3 years, all grandparents gone, and my ex-husband and
boom.
I got divorced.
right. Mhm.
Tremendous loss.
Absolutely.
Tremendous loss, not being able to process those feelings.
Right. We
At
have
a
hard
very
time
young-
processing.
And we have a young boy in puberty,
right.
and that's why he kind of turned towards that.
Right.
So yes, you're absolutely right. And we're going to talk about the siblings in a second, but we'll be right back after this message.
Guys, ready for the show? Yeah. Enjoy it.
Galaxy Luxury Coach is a full-service limousine and party bus company. Family-owned and operated, we are an industry leader with over 25 years of experience in providing best-in-class luxury transportation for your special event. Whether it's your precious wedding day, an all-day wine tour out east, your high school prom, that special birthday, or just an amazing night on the town, our professional chauffeurs stand ready to ensure your special event is truly special. Galaxy Luxury Coach has one of the largest and modern party bus fleets in the New York area. Our party buses are simply nightclubs on wheels. Concert sound systems, light shows, lasers and strobes, multicolor LED lighting brilliantly lights your party bus inside and out. For corporate and more laid-back events, we will cater to your specific needs and requests. What sets Galaxy aside from all others in the luxury transportation industry is our attention to detail in customizing our services to your special event. At Galaxy, it's all about you and your guests. Galaxy customers return time and time again because they know they can trust Galaxy to help deliver those lifetime memorable moments. Step aboard and let your Galaxy experience begin.
Dunkin' Donuts are always fresh. I made the donuts. We make them at least twice every day. Time to make the donuts. Not a few kinds, like supermarket. Made the donuts. Time to make the donuts. But up to 52 varieties. The donuts. Time to make the donuts. I made the donuts. Dunkin' Donuts, up to 52 varieties, fresh day and night. No supermarket can say.
Welcome back to Long Island in Crisis, and we're we're discussing the holidays, whether you're grieving or whether you have someone newly in sobriety,
Right.
and maybe you still have someone struggling,
Right.
and we really haven't gone there yet.
Yes, right.
But the person for newly recovering, I will say this: siblings of the child that is making or has made the household in an uproar. That the one person struggling with the disease of addiction has everybody else spinning out of control.
Right, absolutely. Right.
Siblings or other children have voices that very often go unheard.
So
they may be excelling in school, in sports, in all their activities, and it's going unnoticed.
Right.
And as parents, we have to remember that, it is the one that's in the trouble the most that obviously is going to get the most attention.
Right.
But I can't stress that enough. My younger son is a county champion wrestler.
Wow.
So for all the years that Thomas was struggling, I never missed his wrestling.
Wow.
Because that was important to him.
Right.
And if I didn't show up when I had always shown up, what was that saying to him?
Oh, absolute resentment and right.
And there was resentment anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, what's going on in my family? Why is he doing this? Why is she doing this to me? Why am I embarrassed with kids talking about it in school? And nobody's hearing these feelings.
Right.
So you have to get kids involved really in their own kind of group setting.
Yeah,
or at
and
least
they need an outlet to speak
they
and
need
talk
an
about
outlet
what
to
they're
speak
feeling.
with no repercussions for their feelings.
Absolutely, right.
By saying how much they hate, and kids are going to say that.
Right.
And how angry they are at that. They need somebody that's totally impartial, that can just listen, and then say, let's talk about what strategies can we give you.
That's why, obviously, I think therapy is so important. I will have
family therapy.
Yes. I will have a kid come in any situation that's traumatic going on, a difficult situation, and say, like, I feel really terrible about saying this, but I hate him, And it's like the first time that this child has been able to say this.
Yeah.
And it's so important to know that that's okay.
Yeah.
And to be able to tell somebody, and not another family member that's got their own connection to it.
Exactly.
Right.
You can't be objective.
Right.
To listen to that. And how many times do kids say they hate their brothers and sisters anyway?
Absolutely.
So
that's
you
true.
Can't take it personally either.
Right, absolutely.
But they have to have that voice.
Absolutely.
And they have to be able to say, I accomplished this, and this, and it went unnoticed. Because you know what? Good attention or bad attention, if somebody's always getting attention for bad behavior, if I'm always being the good one, I might as well be the bad one.
Absolutely.
And maybe they'll notice me.
I see people shut down.
Yeah.
Siblings shut down and just say, I'm never going to get it, so what's the point? There could be depression that could come from that a lot. I do hear parents sometimes say, the squeaky expression, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So, the person in the addiction is definitely getting more of the attention, right? But the other ones can't go dry.
No, they can't.
Right.
They can't. And there needs to be time made for healthy behavior too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right.
And that's
keep the routine.
Yeah, keep the routine, but keep them, and they need a place to talk. I think that's overwhelmingly the message for this evening. Get yourself into any group. If you can't afford therapy, certainly there are enough groups around.
There are a lot.
A lot of groups. Al-Anon, Alateen,
I know
Families Anonymous.
LICAD
has groups. They have sibling groups, I do believe.
Right.
And if you can't find a sibling group, you can certainly message me at Facebook or anything else, and we'll have Millie's information up there. But there are other alternatives for groups. And I encourage you, if you're not happy with the first group that you go to,
Don't give up.
don't give up. You will find the group that is your peeps.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's hard
You're
to
gonna-
find
you
the one that
just
feels
need to
right.
connect with the right people that may be similar personalities to you.
Right.
Don't give up. You know, well, those people are weird, or those people are morose, or those people are whatever. No, just keep moving to different meetings.
Yeah, people assume that that's the way it's always going to be.
Exactly.
But it is really about how people kind of click and gel together. And
Absolutely.
it can be phenomenal when it
Oh,
works.
my goodness. When it works, it works. Because look at, right?
Yeah.
All of us that really
Uh-huh.
have been thrown together have.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Have those are lifelong friendships.
Right.
Those are just amazing types of things.
When we talk about kids, we also have to really look at our examples. You talked about people actively using, right? And we have to really think about what messages we're giving during the holidays at these parties. Is alcohol the focus?
Yes.
How much of a priority is it? How much are we drinking in front of them? Even if we don't have a problem, we have to really take a look at the messages we're giving.
And that's so important because babies, right?
Yes.
A year-old baby knows how to
Absolutely.
swipe your iPhone. An iPad can work an iPad.
Yep.
And if you are naive enough to think that a 1-year-old,
They're
the
not
2-year-old, the
watching.
3-year-old is watching everything that we do.
Right.
And if alcohol or a wine bottle or whatever it is that mom and dad put in a red cup, in a special wine glass, in whatever,
Right. Oh, absolutely
it's
watching.
being taken in. And this is how I'm supposed to have a good time
Right.
as I get older.
Right. Right.
So we need to bring, alcohol free
Right.
and just have good, clean fun.
Right.
Just
And
show them that there's good, clean
that is
fun.
possible, you
Yes.
know? And, if you want to go out with your adult friends and
After the kids are in bed,
right? Yeah, but in front
during
of the
that
children,
time,
it's really,
yes.
really important.
very, very important. I think that, don't do as it's not do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
If you want to be the example.
We have to be. I think
We have to
that-
be.
We know that's how people learn.
And, when Kim Laube was here, and this I really find so fascinating, addiction is really an adolescent disease. And the longer that we can postpone the use of
Right.
a substance
Right.
into a growing
Right.
body,
Right.
the better the chances of turning that switch on go down dramatically.
Yes.
Dramatically.
Absolutely. We're talking, developing brain. And,
And brains do not develop till the age of 25.
Right.
So when you talk about
I remember
putting-
the first time I heard that, I said, no wonder no one's they're not listening or not getting it. But, 25.
25.
Right.
So the only people that have this right now are insurance companies and car rental places.
They get it.
Because that's when
Right.
prices go down for your 25-year-old, especially your 25-year-old male.
Right.
And no one under the age of 25 is allowed to rent a car.
Right. Right.
Because that's when you start to click.
Exactly.
So we, as parents, to say or to think, well, I drank a beer when I was 12. It's not the same in today's world. It
Right.
really is not the same in
Right.
today's world.
Well, there's so much pressure and there's so much stress, and we're talking about the holidays, and there's stress for kids too.
Social media, they're on 24/7.
Right. This one went to a party, and I
And I-
wasn't invited, and there's so much stuff going on, and
It's hurtful.
absolutely.
So at age 12, don't say, oh, well, they're only having a beer or smoking a joint.
Right.
It's not okay.
Right.
It's not okay.
It interferes with the actual psychological development.
It arrests the development if they continue that. So you could have an 18-year-old that acts like a 12-year-old.
Right.
Well, that shouldn't be a surprise.
Right, because they've never learned how to really cope and deal with the feelings. So much is trying to avoid pain.
Yes, at all costs.
And, I get it. No one likes it. It doesn't feel good. No one's like, oh, today I'm going to, sit myself down and feel really bad. But the reality is we have to. We have to feel it. We can't isolate just, oh, I'm going to squash pain but feel happiness. Once we squash feelings, they're all squashed.
They're all squat. Oh, that's a perfect way to put it.
And
I know, so when I have those moments, the fastest way to get through them is to sit in them.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Get out whatever you need to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Cry, scream, whatever it is you need to do.
Yep.
You do it.
Right.
And then it's like riding a wave.
Absolutely.
And when you come to that bottom of the wave, it sucks to be there.
Right. Of course.
But it will end.
Right.
It
and
will
you have to go through it.
You have to go through it. That's the shortest way to get out of it.
Yeah. Clients will come in and they'll sit down and they'll be like, I'm doing okay. And then we'll talk about something and then they'll start crying and they'll say, oh, well, why am I like this? I didn't mean to be like this. I didn't mean to cry. I thought I was doing okay. And I said, first of all, just because you're crying doesn't mean you're not okay.
Exactly.
It actually is healthy and good, and yeah, that's what you're supposed to do to get through some of the stuff. If your body is telling you you need to.
Absolutely.
Don't fight it.
You can't fight it.
Right.
We're not Stepford people.
That's for sure. Right.
So emotions are good, and practicing yoga.
I know you
if
do it.
If you don't get attached to any one feeling that you're having at that moment in time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You'd always be attached to happy feelings.
Right.
But don't get attached to anything. Just be in the moment that you're in.
Right.
Don't look back. Don't look forward. Just be there, and everything moves. Life will go on.
Yeah. Right. What do they say? Nothing is permanent.
Right? Nothing is permanent.
Right. Everything's always changing. Yeah.
We'll be right back after this message.
I think this is a good time to tell you. You're doing okay, Mom. I can call you Mom, right? I know we haven't known each other very long, but you seem like a real keeper. You're not perfect. There was that strained carrots incident, but you're trying. You pick up my bottle every time I toss it out of my stroller. That's high comedy to an 8-month-old. You hum the Barber of Seville when you wash my hair. So cool. And your rub-downs are out of this world. Anyway, I want you to know how much I appreciate you. You know, right? How much I love you? You're doing okay, Mom.
Galaxy Luxury Coach is a full-service limousine and party bus company. Family-owned and operated, we are an industry leader with over 25 years of experience in providing best-in-class luxury transportation for your special event. Whether it's your precious wedding day, an all-day wine tour out east, your high school prom, that special birthday, or just an amazing night on the town, our professional chauffeurs stand ready to ensure your special event is truly special. Galaxy Luxury Coach has one of the largest and modern party bus fleets in the New York area. Our party buses are simply nightclubs on wheels. Concert sound systems, light shows, lasers and strobes, multicolor LED lighting brilliantly lights your party bus inside and out. For corporate and more laid-back events, we will cater to your specific needs and requests. What sets Galaxy aside from all others in the luxury transportation industry is our attention to detail in customizing our services to your special event. At Galaxy, it's all about you and your guests. Galaxy customers return time and time again because they know they can trust Galaxy to help deliver those lifetime memorable moments. Step aboard and let your Galaxy experience begin.
Welcome back to Long Island in Crisis, and we're just discussing the holidays and some great advice on setting yourself up for success, I guess, getting through the holiday with whether you're grieving or someone in your family newly sober. And let's talk about someone in the grips of this insidious disease. And it may not be within your immediate family, but it could be aunt, uncle, cousin, grandma, grandpa,
neighbor.
Right. So that inappropriate behavior that they're showing Again, communication is the key.
Right.
So
it's the theme.
It's the theme. So with your kids, whether they be young or teenagers, there's an opportunity for some kind of a lesson.
Right. Exactly.
And to have an open discussion. You
Right.
know, whoever that person may be, if it's grandpa really didn't have good, healthy decisions today.
Right. Yeah.
And although you may think that was funny,
right.
It's very sad.
Right. So we were saying you may not be comfortable or feel comfortable calling the person out on it in the situation. You know, Grandpa, you're drinking too much, or and that doesn't work a lot of times anyway. But go home, and on the way home, use that moment to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
And learn from it. Yeah, and don't act like it's fine and
or funny.
Right. Right.
Or no harm, no foul is not necessarily true, but there's a teachable moment to say,
right,
that's not healthy behavior.
Right.
Grandpa is taking that to excess.
Right.
And it is going to affect his health, his decision making, all of these things.
Right.
You know, all the events that happen, drunk driving, accidents, all of those are teachable moments.
I agree.
For our children.
Right. And a lot of times we don't want to bring it up. As I said, maybe we're not comfortable with it. We don't know how to do it. But at the same time, maybe they didn't notice.
They're not in a tunnel,
They
though.
notice.
They notice. Nobody misses a trick.
Right.
And if they have a smartphone, they're being bombarded with other messages.
Right.
So you may not want to have spoken about the San Bernardino shootings. They're very well aware of the San Bernardino
Absolutely.
shootings.
Right. They know about
9/11, people didn't want to talk about that to protect their kids. They were bombarded
Absolutely.
with those images for weeks. And a lot of things, my Thomas, that age group, his year in high school, there were so many people affected by that.
Right. Oh, really? Yeah.
Very interesting.
Right.
He was 11 when the 9/11 attacks happened. So, people started to, what was it? What was it that, that all of these kids were so hit with?
They were. My daughter was, I don't know, 6th grade maybe, something like that.
So 12, around
right,
the same age.
Right. And she, we talked about it when she got home. I tried to kind of cool the TV, all of that kind of stuff, but at the same time talk about it. But we didn't need the re-traumatization all the time.
Absolutely.
But I think it was probably about 6 months later or a year later, one of her friends was moving. And she was really upset that her friend was moving. And I said to her, wow, this is your first experience with loss. And she said, no, my first experience with loss was the World Trade Center.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. And I didn't know that she had thought of it. It hit her.
It hit her.
As a loss.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a child.
Right. More so than you thought it did.
Right.
So, again, that traumatization of seeing those images again and again and again.
Right.
And hearing about death and death and death and death.
Right. And again, talking about it. Some of it we can't avoid, so we have to be able to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Right.
But recognize that they have very big feelings.
Right. At young ages, yeah.
At very young ages, and I don't know, I'm not sure if we had that when we were little.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think that we're in a different world.
They're exposed to a lot more.
So much more.
Yeah.
Through the internet and just by, I think parents today want to also be more of a friend.
Right.
And talk about way too many things.
Right.
Children are not small adults. They're not miniature adults.
Right.
They're children.
Right.
With not all the same capabilities and capacities.
Right.
That we as adults have and some don't have.
Right.
Even as adults.
Right. My key with children and communication is ask questions. And when I say ask questions, I don't mean
grill them third degree.
Right.
Where were you?
What did you do? Who was there? Why did they do it? Blah, blah, blah. Right? No. I mean, what's going on? So-and-so did that? Well, what do you think?
Right.
Is that something you think is good? Would you like to do that? I mean, I use, of course, the typical, how do you feel about that, therapist question. But, and I know my daughter said to me, oh my gosh, you're going to ask me how I feel again?
You're going to treatment me again?
Right. But honestly, now she can express herself and she can know what her feelings are.
Yeah.
And put words on them.
And that's the key through all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Giving each individual the time and the space to come up with what they are really feeling.
Others and us.
Yes.
Ourselves.
Yeah. So, just because you're feeling that way doesn't mean the rest of your family is feeling the same way.
Right.
You each have individual feelings, and come up with a solution that's going to work. Compromise.
Right. Absolutely.
Compromise what's going to work best for everyone.
Absolutely.
Especially for that person that's newly sober, be inclusive.
Absolutely.
It's not, I'll tell you, there's a lot of parents that are in a club that no parent should belong to that would gladly sacrifice having no alcohol in the house or having to avoid people's parties because their loved one is home from rehab.
It's a minor thing, really, to give
It's
up
a minor
when you
thing
think
to
about
give
it.
up. In the big scheme of life,
Mm-hmm.
they're alive.
Right.
And there's hope for next year to be, wow, you did a year, you have a year under your belt in recovery.
Right.
So just want to say thank you for joining us this evening. If you have any questions, please, the Facebook page for Thomas's Hope will get you Millie's information. If you need a place to go or anything else, feel free to message me. We'll put you in touch with somebody that can help you out. I'm really always available. You can always feel free, because I know it's a very isolating time of the year for a lot of people. So, do what's best for you. Be very mindful. We did a show on that a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Mindfulness. Take care of yourself. Eat well, exercise,
Absolutely.
get enough sleep, and really nurture yourself. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. And Dr. Jeff Reynolds will be here next week. And have a great week and a good evening.
Another dark hotel room.